Hi everyone, welcome to our first episode of Talking
Talking
Legal
Legal
with
with
TTA.
TTA.
I'm Chiamaka Anyanwu.
And I am Daniella Ogbonnaya. Talking Legal with TTA is a series which is tailored to analyze and address legal issues affecting our daily lives. Now, on this series, we'll not only be addressing and analyzing these legal issues, we'll also be discussing available remedies which the law has provided.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing a topic which resonates with most of us or people around us. Most often, we come across images of two similar identical products, popularly tagged what I ordered versus what I got. And this has become a huge part of social media humor.
Like everyone else, these images always makes me laugh. Personally, I get cracked up with the whole clothing and cake versions of these pictures because those ones would always go exceptionally wrong.
I know, right? Especially the clothes version. I even just saw one like 2 days ago. Because, I mean, as a vendor, if you receive an order from a customer and you know you're not able to deliver that order according to the description that you've given or what the customer asked for, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from saying, oh, we don't have that. Why then give the customer something that is so far from what the customer had initially ordered? Do you ever think of how the customer is going to feel at the end of
I
the day?
usually wonder.
I mean, at the end of the day, I know we all use this as banter on social media and everybody laughs about the end result, but just imagine how the customer is going to feel at the end of the day. And this actually points to a bigger issue. So, does this mean that the law does not provide protection for this kind of online transactions? Or does it not even provide any remedy whatsoever to these kinds of customers?
Well, the law has actually put in place certain protections to guide online transactions.
Okay.
But before we can even delve into this available rights and protections which the law has provided, we need to understand whether or not these rights are actually enforceable in courts.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
Yes, ordinarily, every transaction should be guided by a contract or an agreement. There should be something binding the vendor and these consumers. Now, the good thing about this is that there is no specific format to which a contract may be entered into. It could be oral, it could be written, it could be implied. What matters most is that the elements of a valid contract can be seen from that transaction. And what are the elements of a valid contract? We have the offer, we have acceptance, we have consideration, we have an intention to create legal relationship, and we have capacity of both parties.
Okay.
Yes. Now bringing this into our online transaction. Yes, I think this would be better painted with a scenario.
Okay.
For example, I come across an item I would love to buy, maybe a shoe I see on Instagram, and I want to purchase it. It's important to note that the mere posting of that picture of that item by the vendor online is not even the offer.
Okay.
That is merely an invitation to trade. Now, as the purchaser in this scenario, by the time I indicate an interest to buy this item, that is me giving the vendor an offer. And the acceptance of this offer can be seen where the vendor gives further instructions for me the purchaser to take before getting the item. For example, oh, it's available in this color, or it's available in that color, or this is what is available, and all of that. Now that is acceptance of the offer which I, the purchaser, have given to the vendor. Me paying for the item is the consideration. Consideration simply means money. What are you paying to get this item? What am I giving you in return for me
Okay.
to get this item? And since all of this, since the offer, acceptance, and consideration have been seen in this element, we can as well say that there was an intention for both parties to enter into a relationship, into a legal relationship.
Okay.
And the capacity points to the individuals as a whole. Of course, of course, there are certain requirements which some of these digital platforms have put in place before you can even register on their platform and all of that. Most often, you have to be an adult to actually be on this platform. So that is the capacity of these parties in this
Okay.
scenario. Now, having established all the elements of a valid contract to an online transaction, we can as well say that there is an agreement between both parties. As such, the rights and remedies which the law provided would still protect this group of persons.
Okay, so from everything you said, when all of these elements are present in such a transaction, there will be deemed to be an enforceable contract between both parties.
Yes,
So this means that an aggrieved customer can then seek for remedy against this vendor because they already have an implied contract existing between them, even though it's not
exactly.
written.
Exactly.
Okay, so now that we've established when there is an existing or enforceable relationship between the parties, what rights are we now going to say that are applicable to this customer? So what does the customer have as rights for them to enforce?
Now, the thing is, while there's no specific law guiding online transaction in Nigeria, but we can always draw inference from two other laws which are in place already in Nigeria. We have the Sale of Goods Act, and we have the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act.
Okay.
Now, from the Sale of Goods Act, there's an implied condition in the Sale of Goods Act which states that where a good is to be sold by description, it is important that that the goods delivered should comply with what has been described to the purchaser.
Okay.
Meaning, if I've said, oh, what I'm sending to you is 18 inches luxury bone straight hair, what's this is what you've described your item as. Whatever you're delivering to me, the purchaser, should be the same thing with what you've described to me. Now the good thing that this act actually goes further to state that even if the sale is by sample or by description, it is not sufficient for only the sample part to be complied with. Even the description, meaning the sale, the whatever has been delivered to this purchaser must comply with the sample that was given to the purchaser and also what was described.
Okay.
Yes, so that is what the sale of goods. That's one of the rights which the Sale of Goods Act has afforded to consumers or purchasers in general.
Okay, so let
Which
me understand that. So what you're trying to say in essence is that where a sample has been shown to this customer, let's assume a sample has been shown to the customer, but then the customer, there is already a description for what the customer wants, and this good does not comply with the description that has been given, but it's similar to the sample, it will still be deemed as the customer not receiving what he has ordered. So that particular good delivered or product delivered has to comply with the description.
it
Not It's not
must
enough for it to
comply.
comply just with the sample. Both of
Yes,
them have to be
yes, it
okay.
must comply with the sample that was given and with what has been described.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Then I also mentioned the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act. Now, this act guides commercial transactions in general. So it's not just online transactions. So including transactions that you may have physically in people's shop and all of that. It guides commercial transactions in general. Now, this act has provided that whatever goods or whatever services or goods you've supplied to a purchaser, it must be fit for purpose,
Hmm.
meaning it must be fit for the purpose which the consumer intended to use that item for. So I come along and tell you that, oh, I'm buying this item because I want to use it for this, I want to use it for that. And you as a vendor delivering that to me, delivering the product to me must comply with the intended purpose which I have communicated to you earlier on. Now, this is one of the rights which this act gives to consumers generally, including online consumers.
Okay. So having established all of these rights as well that a customer is entitled to, are there any available remedies where these customers are aggrieved? I mean, even after experiencing all of this, let's assume the goods are brought and it doesn't comply with the description that was given to the customer which actually prompted the customer to place an order for the product, or it doesn't, or the good delivered is not, it doesn't even comply, it's not even fit for purpose for which he or she wants to use it for. Are there any available remedies that this agreed customer can explore?
Yes, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act has actually laid down certain remedies to address this kind of issues. First of all, of course, you know the law would always promote negotiation and mediation between
Yeah,
parties.
very important.
Yes, so that's actually the first remedy. You have to take this complaint back to the seller to discuss, to of course air your grievances and lay your complaints, and the seller in turn has to find a way to address this problem in order to pacify and suit the consumer, the aggrieved purchaser rather. Now,
Hmm.
where this route doesn't work between both parties, we have the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Now, this commission has the power to listen to complaints and address issues between both parties, between the vendor and the aggrieved purchaser. And it can also make orders, probably give you a specific order and say, oh, collect this item back and refund the purchaser's money and all of that. Now, where this commission gives orders, these orders can then be taken to court as consent judgments.
Okay.
And now you also have the right, of course, you also have the right to take your issues or your grievances directly to court, say a court of competent jurisdiction, to help you mediate the matter.
So, to buttress what she had said about the consent judgment, she earlier mentioned that parties are allowed to come together to negotiate and try to resolve their disputes. So, when they do this, they then draw up a terms of settlement. This terms of settlement is a list of how they intend to resolve their issues. After doing this, they take it to the court for the court to enforce these terms of settlement and then make them bound by whatever it is they've agreed. When the court does this, it's then called a consent judgment. So, having highlighted all of these remedies, you also mentioned that parties can come together to resolve their issues, and then they can make refunds and then make exchange. But then again, I'm very sure most of us are very familiar with this phrase of no refund, no exchange policies that a lot of these vendors put up on their pages and on their products and whatever it is. So how then do we address this issue of no refund, no exchange policy? Is that legal in any way? Are they allowed to prevent customers from coming to from exchanging products that they're not satisfied with?
Now, the good thing is that the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act actually addresses this problem of no refund, no exchange policy. Now, in as much as this act gives room for vendors to put up notices, but then this notice must be put in a must be written in a format or put in a place that is very very glaring for the consumers to be aware of that particular notice.
Okay.
That's a notice that seeks to waive the right of a consumer. Despite this act allowing a vendor to put up notices, the act further states that where the act further gives instances where the consumer will not be bounded by his awareness of this notice and can actually seek for a refund of his can actually seek for a refund of his money and give the product back to the vendor. Now, this act provides for two instances where you can seek for a full refund of whatever consideration or money an aggrieved purchaser has paid to a vendor. Now, the first instance is where the consumer buys a good buys a product or a good that is intended for a particular purpose.
Okay.
Now, if after the delivery of this product and the consumer realizes that the product does not fit the purpose for which it was intended and which was communicated to the vendor, he has the right to seek for a refund.
Thank you so much, Daniela. So we have been able to establish that there is an enforceable relationship between parties in an online transaction. We have also been able to highlight the applicable rights and available remedies to this aggrieved customer. We're also able to explain the concept of the no refund, no exchange policy. Now, if you're interested in learning more about this topic and other interesting legal topics, you can visit our website by clicking on the link in the description box.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking Legal with TTA. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you can be notified when there's a new video. See you at the next one.
Bye.